Hey guys, Katie here, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a Let's Talk About It video, and we're doing Disney Fan Theories Part 8, and this is all about the newer princesses. So this is Merida, Anna and Elsa, Moana, and Raya. We're going to start with the Brave theories. The Enchantress from Beauty and the Beast is also the witch from Brave, and another Disney character. The Enchantress from Beauty and the Beast is also the witch from Brave, and also the ocean from Moana, and I have proof. It's actually not proof, just a theory, and I have to hype it up for some reason. Evidence 1. The Enchantress is also named Agatha Circe? Agatha Circe. In Greek mythology, Circe is the goddess of magic and witchcraft. She is known for her ability to turn humans into animals. She also has 3 forms that she takes: witch, enchantress, and nymph. 2. In each movie, humans are turned into animals, the sign of Circe. The enchantress turns the prince into the beast, the witch turns the queen into a bear, and the grandmother turns into a stingray, and Maui turns to all kinds of animals. 3. The 3 forms are shown. Obviously the witch and the enchantress, but the nymph is more complicated. Nymphs, for those who don't know, are protectors of nature. Since Circe is the daughter of the sea god, it wouldn't be a stretch to assume she is a Haliae, a nymph of the sea. And a protector of the sea would probably be the type to send a human to save the ocean. Also, Maui got his hook, which turns him to animals from the gods. Maybe Circe, the goddess of magic. That's pretty good. I mean, having them all be the god of magic and witchcraft. That's interesting. I never would have thought of that. The witch in Brave is responsible for making all bears and wisps in Scotland. As my toddler watches Brave for the 87th time this month, I've developed this theory about the bears in Scotland and the wisps. Bears did used to roam Scotland thousands of years ago, but they were hunted into extinction in that area around 450 AD due to overhunting. The witch is obsessed with bears, and her solution to everything is turning people into bears. Merida and the prince had entirely different requests/problems. Not wanting to get married, strength of 10 men, both had to do with changing their fate. We see at the end of the film that when Mor'du is killed, he becomes a wisp. Wisps in almost all folklore are malevolent. The witch mentions she has too many unsatisfied customers. It has been a long time since she turned Mor'du into a bear, likely hundreds of years, so the witch has some ability to live for a long time. So putting it all together, the witch has been alive for thousands of years, always turning people into bears, and thus creating the bear population in Scotland. Bear attacks likely occurred in villages where those customers were trying to get help or rectify their mistakes so they could become human again. Why else would the men in Brave think it's plausible that bears routinely wander into castles or towns? But they turn into real bears and continue doing what bears do, like reproducing and eating and being bears. Humans, afraid of them, start hunting them down, and as the enchanted bears die, wisps are created. The wisps, who are souls of people who feel tricked by the witch, outcasted by society, and hunted down, now lead others to her out of vengeance to have the same fate. So, first of all, I didn't know that there was a bear population problem in Scotland at one point. And I didn't know that bears were extinct there. But this is a good theory. I mean, obviously this enchantress witch lady is obsessed with bears. Overly obsessed with bears. Huh. I want to know your guys' thoughts on that theory, because that one is that's really intriguing to me, honestly. The Will-O-the-Wisp are the real villains in Brave. For a lot of people, the first time they heard about Will-O-the-Wisp was from the cute little ghosts in Brave. What they probably didn't realize is that Will-O-the-Wisps are actually real. They're weird lights that appear over marshes sometimes. Since there's no obvious explanation for them, even nowadays, a lot of folklore has risen up around them. What's interesting is that most, if not all, folklore about them describes them as malevolent. Sometimes they're spirits of the dead, but more often they're candles or lanterns held by fairies or pixies. They usually lead travelers deep into the marshes where they get lost and drown, probably because this actually happened a lot in real life and the stories were told as cautionary tales. There are some good Will-O-the-Wisps. A few of the stories say that they reveal the location of fairy treasure or help lost travelers, though even these stories say that half the time, if the travelers annoy the wisp, they just lead them deeper into the woods. But these stories aren't from Scotland. In Scotland, the Will-O-the-Wisp also goes by the name Spunky, and is one of the worst ones out there, as it has even been blamed for shipwrecks. Scottish folklore says that these lights are the ghosts of the dead, which fits with Brave's Will-O-the-Wisp, who are also revealed to be ghosts. But are Brave's wisps evil? Yes they are. In fact, they're responsible for everything bad that happens in the film. The first time we see the wisps, they lead Merida out of the woods and back to her family. This might seem like a good thing, since her father is then able to save Merida from Mor'du. But the incident leads to her father losing his leg, and very nearly his life, which is a bit much when you consider that the wisp could probably have just led Mor'du away instead. Oh, and by the way, what was he even doing in the forest? Later in the film, we're given the impression that his main base is in the ruins of his own kingdom. What led him to Merida and her family? The next time we meet them, they lead Merida to the witch's house, where she gives Merida the tart that will turn her mother into a bear. This also leads to the main conflict of the movie, making the wisps already more of an antagonist than Mor'du, who presents more of an immediate threat when he does appear, but doesn't really influence future events. The next time, the wisps cut out the middleman in their mission to get Merida eaten by a magic bear and just lead her straight to Mor'du. Sure, she found out how to solve the puzzle, but she's nearly eaten in the process, and the puzzle only needs to be solved because the wisp led her to the witch. The last time the wisps appear is at the end, when they lead Merida to her mother in time to save her. This has got to be a good deed, right? Yes, except guess who turns up only a few minutes later? Mor'du, that's who. Kind of suspicious, isn't it, that Mor'du seems to appear whenever the wisps do, almost as if Merida isn't the only one being led to places. When he's crushed by a menor in the battle, his spirit becomes a Will-O-the-Wisp, so they've definitely gained from the whole incident. Mor'du, interestingly enough, is actually the prince from the fairy tale Merida's mother tells her. The first time this is hinted to us is when the witch mentions that she gave the exact spell she gives Merida to a prince who wanted to change his fate. Doesn't that sound familiar? While the film shows that it is possible to just happen upon the witch's cottage, it seems unlikely that the prince would go in and ask the crazy woodcarver for a spell, unless, of course, he had been led there by some magical creatures, and so already knew that something magic was happening. So it's entirely possible, and I think very likely, that the wisps are responsible for the existence of Mor'du. The fact that he becomes one is very interesting as well. Even when he wasn't a bear, Mor'du didn't seem like a very nice guy. He did start a war against his own brothers and caused the downfall of a whole kingdom after all. This suggests that the Will-O-the-Wisp could be made up of exclusively the ghosts of bad people, which explains why they do bad things. One last point, the one thing we are frequently told in the film is that the will-o'-the-wisp leads you to your fate. This is a bit weird when you consider that the whole moral of the story is that it is better to find your own fate and write your own story. The idea of having some preset future already laid out for you is seen as bad, and the film is all about Merida trying to avoid or change her fate, and then being punished for that by the wisps. However, leading people to their fate does fit pretty well. However, leading people to their fate does fit pretty well with the folklore, since actually finding your fate is usually seen as a bad thing. When you hear that somebody met their fate, you don't say, cool, was their fate to be given a really nice chocolate cake? No, you assume that the person has died. So by leading people to their fate, the wisp could be said to be leading them to their deaths. That is very interesting. That is very, very, very interesting. My theory also about the wisps is maybe Mor'du kept showing up because he was following the wisp trying to get back to the witch to change him back. That could be my theory on that. Is the reason why it seemed like Mor'du was always where the wisps were is because he was following them. But he was following them to try to get back to the witch, not necessarily to harm other people. Now we're moving on to the Frozen theories. Elsa is dead at the end of Frozen 2. She freezes, Olaf disappears, Anna does the next right thing until the dam is destroyed and the forest is restored. Re-enter Elsa, looking different. In conversation with Anna, she allows Anna to make the connection that she is the fifth spirit. Kristoff comments she looks different. Did you cut your hair or something? Elsa smirks and replies, or something. She's alluding to her death and the fact that she is now a spirit of the forest. Anna becomes queen not only because it's the right thing for Arendelle, but because Elsa cannot be queen because she's connected to the forest now as a fifth spirit. Surely Elsa would have been at Anna's coronation ceremony, but she couldn't leave the forest. They communicated via the butterfly instead, passing on messages. They are the two sides of the bridge. Anna is the human world and Elsa is the spirit world. Elsa's dead. Added to highlight my point for those who are hurt at the thought of Elsa's death. I guess my wording could be dramatic, but I believe she's a spirit and no longer human is the bottom line. And there may be restrictions at the very least which keep them apart physically for some time. I always wondered that too, like why she wasn't at Anna's coronation. Like, wouldn't she be? Maybe she can't leave the forest. Maybe she can't leave. Maybe she's... That's crazy. But I think I kind of love it. Not that killing off Elsa is great, but, you know, like, it's a little dark. It's a little dark. Kind of love it. I think Olaf was planning on sacrificing himself to save Anna. Towards the end of the movie, when Anna is locked in the room and dying because Hans didn't give her an act of true love, Olaf entered the room and was about to stay in the room and melt himself to death to keep Anna warm as long as possible. He even says some people are worth melting for. I think he was planning on his melting to keep Anna alive, being an act of true love to save her if Kristoff didn't come back. This is just a theory I thought of after watching Frozen on repeat for 5 years. I think that was kind of what it was alluding to, was it not? Like, am I wrong? I thought that's what it was. Yeah. I think that was the whole point of that scene, to be quite honest. Elsa's ice is all 4 elements combined. This might be a short theory, but a solid one nonetheless. It's my theory that Elsa was given ice as her power, not only because of Ahtohallan, but because ice can symbolize all 4 elements in some way. Here's a few of my thoughts. 1. Water. Obviously, ice is just frozen water. We'll get that one over with. Opposite of liquid, water. or opposite of liquid water. Earth. Ice is solid like Earth and coats the planet like Earth obviously does. Opposite of Earth as it mostly comes up in winter or early spring. Fire. Ice burns you like fire does, just on the opposite sides of the spectrum, and these burns can do just as much damage as fire burns do. Air. This is the one that's the farthest reach for me, but maybe. Mix ice and air and you get snow, which she creates in every Frozen movie. Not sure about this one, though. Not sure if this is a good theory, but I think it's fun. What do you think? I think it's pretty solid. It's a pretty solid theory, I would say. Ahtohallan, the magical river from Frozen 2, and the river in Encanto have a connection. Encanto introduces us to the Madrigal family. Each member has their own magical gift thanks to a magical candle that grants each member of the family, once they turn 5, some form of magical power. Now, everyone seems to think that the candle is what's creating the magic. That was until the end, where the implication is that Mirabel, the only Madrigal born into the family with no tangible ability, is what keeps the miracle and the bond of her family together, as their magical house, Casita, came back to life and all the family members regained their powers at the end of the movie. After the magic supposedly died, and Mirabel places the doorknob on the front door, restoring the family miracle. However, I don't think the candle was the origin of the family's powers. Towards the end, it is revealed that, whilst escaping a rebellion war, Abuela's husband, the patriarch of the Madrigal family, was killed at a river crossing outside the settlement known as Encanto, which is where the Madrigals now live. After Abuela watches his murder and collapses in grief, the candle she was carrying gains its magical abilities, drives the murderers away, and secludes the refugees, including Abuela, in a safe area, creating new mountains to cut them off from outside threats. The river is what gave the Madrigal family their miracle. It's during this moment in the movie that Abuela says that the river was where the miracle was born. Why does this matter? Frozen 2. In Frozen 2, it is established that Elsa's powers were granted to her as a gift to her parents after her mother saved her father, who should have been her enemy. Who granted this gift? Ahtohallan. Ahtohallan is a magical glacier, a river made from ice, that was told to Anna and Elsa by their mother to have some kind of magical properties, which the sisters later discover is true. Now, this does sound quite strange, especially since Encanto didn't come out until after Frozen 2. Elsa's powers coming from a magical river probably wasn't what people were expecting to be the origins of her powers, but when you consider that both Frozen 2 and Encanto feature magical characters and both have ties to a river, it's quite a coincidence. However, taking Moana into consideration, since the ocean is literally sentient, that supports this theory that water in the latest Disney musicals seems to have magical properties. The ocean in Moana is sentient and acts as a character, protecting Moana and assisting her when she really needs it, not too dissimilar to how Casita treats Mirabel. This is also something to point out. Rivers lead to ocean. What do you think? Why are there so many ties to magic and natural bodies of water in these newer Disney movies? That's a good thought. I didn't think about it. There are a lot of magical waters in recent Disney movies. But I totally agree with the fact that the river in Encanto played a huge part. It played a huge part in the magic of everything. But the river being an extension of Ahtohallan is very possible. I mean, of course, we don't know when Encanto was set. I think we have a theory as to when Frozen and Frozen 2 were set. And I'm pretty sure they're set on opposite sides of the world. Because you would think Encanto was somewhere in South America. And what is Frozen? Is it Denmark? Somewhere in Europe. You know, so that's a long period. Or maybe Disney Disney, the world of Disney, I was going to say Disney World, but the world of Disney isn't the same as ours. Maybe the countries are set up different, I don't know. But I mean, this is a pretty good theory if you ask me. Anna might have had powers, but through Elsa's ice shot, they have distinguished or were made powerless over the time of the effect. This is going to be short because I don't know exactly how to really prove it. It's also pretty wild. Thing is, imagining that Anna could have had fire powers or whatever could get killed by the cold, they might have been killed by Elsa. The shot in the head didn't directly kill them, but made them unusable, as the effect might have still been going on over the years after the accident, as we can see on Anna's white streak of hair. That could have caused her powers to never show. The question is, after Anna had been completely frozen, if her powers extinguished forever, or if Elsa's powers were able to take the cold so that the powers could ignite again. If the last is the case, another question could be if Anna just has to discover them now, or if there is still something that needs to be done so that her powers could be strong enough as that they would show. Sure, maybe after all, Anna doesn't have powers because Elsa is a fifth spirit and Anna is supposed to be with her. The connection between them and humankind. Still would be cool to find out that Anna just didn't know and all it needed was to finally defrost. I like that theory that Anna, because why? Like, we know that Ahtohallan was giving a gift to Anna and Elsa's mom because she saved the dad. But why just Elsa? Why Elsa? Because she's the firstborn? Wouldn't you think that both children would have something? I would think so. You would think. I don't know. It's a good theory. I like the theory that Anna has powers. I don't necessarily know if they would be fire powers, but I like the theory that Anna has powers. The trolls kidnapped Kristoff. We've seen the theories on the trolls manipulating Hans to become the bad guy. I believe that the treachery started out much earlier with the abduction of Kristoff. A young Kristoff, eager to participate in ice cutting, ventures out to join his father and fellow ice cutters one fateful evening. He was distracted by Elsa's ice trail, following it to the troll encampment. When Bolda the troll wrapped her arms around Sven and Kristoff and touched their heads, their fate was sealed as she uttered the fateful words, "I'm going to keep you." In that instant, Kristoff believed he was an orphan and that the trolls were now his adoptive family. I can only assume that off-stream the trolls were also able to wipe the memories of the other Icemen and ensure that Kristoff's family forgot him as well. This may also explain why the Icemen are not seen again in the Frozen franchise. The trolls may have very well convinced them all to walk into the sea, to hide all trace of their crimes. Upon seeing Kristoff with Anna, the trolls decided to manipulate Hans so that their beloved Kristoff would be able to marry her just as they had intended with their troll wedding. I'm not gonna lie, it makes a lot of sense. Because, we know nothing about Kristoff. We know nothing about his story or his past or anything. We need to know more about Kristoff, and I really wish they would have given us something else in Frozen 2 about Kristoff. And if there is a Frozen 3, I hope they give us something about Kristoff and the trolls and, just something, more information. But yeah, I believe, and I like the touching their heads made them forget and stuff. That makes sense. It makes a lot of sense, to be quite honest. I love that theory. Hans was bewitched by the trolls to be evil. So Hans was this lovely guy during the movie, and suddenly he is just evil. Supposedly his plan was to charm the kingdom into letting him be the ruler, but all his nice scenes were basically him faking everything. But how does that make sense? Even when no one was watching him after he first meets Anna, he smiles. Not an evil Disney smile. No, he seems really taken in with Anna. He gives out blankets, he tries to find Anna and Elsa. All those acts were false. And the song no one really listens to, Fixer Upper, the trolls make it clear they want Anna and Kristoff to end up together and are shocked to learn of a fiancé. Oh no, their plan is ruined. But then they sing, so she's a bit of a fixer-upper, that's a minor thing. This quote engagement is a flex arrangement, and by the way, I don't see no ring. Now for the even clearer part, so she's a bit of a fixer-upper, her brain's a bit betwixt, get the fiancé out of the way, and the whole thing will be fixed. So yeah, how do you make the fiancé, how do you get the fiancé out of the way? Make him evil using the mind-bending tricks we already know they are capable of. They even rhyme betwixt with fixed. Changing memories is their fix. Hans at that point is at the top of the North Mountain, still trying to help Arendelle and Elsa. He even saves her at the risk of his own life by redirecting the crossbow bolt. During his return, the trolls must have got him. From this point on, Hans is bewitched and acts evil. There's a point to be made that Hans is still understanding with Elsa in her cell, but I figure it is a ploy to return Summer. After all, the movie wants to make you believe all his good deeds were fake. In this theory, evil Hans only has one fake nice scene. You shouldn't marry a man you just met, though. Yeah, I like that theory, because it really did seem that he was, like, smitten with Anna. Like, love is an open door. Like, how did he know that she... I mean, there was, like, a level of understanding between Anna and Hans, where they both, like, were quirky and cute, and, you know, they wanted to step out from behind their older siblings' shadows, and it was just, like, this really cute moment. And you're telling me that all of that was, like, a lie? I like the theory that on his way back from the North Mountain, the trolls got a hold of him. It makes a lot of sense. And honestly, it's the only reasonable explanation. Elsa's powers are hidden by the king, who feared an uprising because of past rulers who wielded magic in an evil fashion. In the Disney universe, we can see that magic is mostly thought of as evil, since it is most often used overtly in an evil fashion. This is not to say that good magic does not exist, just that its use is more covert and thus less known. This list of points is in no way a timeline, just some key points. In the first Disney movie, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, we see magic wielded by a beautiful witch who is also the Empress. She uses her powers to transform into an old woman to give Snow White a poison apple that puts her into an enchanted sleep. In Pinocchio, boys turn into donkeys on a cursed island. In Fantasia, we meet Yen Sid, who is neutral but wields magic that Mickey attempts to use but cannot control. In Cinderella, we finally see magic used in a positive fashion when the fairy godmother helps Cinderella. However, she and the mice are the only ones who know about the good magic. In Sleeping Beauty, we meet another empress, Maleficent, who wields magic and again can transfigure herself, this time into a dragon. In The Little Mermaid, Ursula the Sea Witch was banished, for what we do not know, but it's possible it was for practicing dark magic. In Beauty and the Beast, another beautiful enchantress uses her magic on someone, this time screwing over an entire palace, all of them innocent, because of the actions of the ruler of the area. In Aladdin, Jafar has sorceress abilities and wishes to become the most powerful sorcerer in the world. I'm pretty sure an entire city witnessed Genie placing the palace on top of a mountain. By the time Frozen comes out, it's pretty apparent to citizens of the Disney universe that some of the ruling class of the world has magic powers and that too many of them have used their powers for evil. It's no wonder, then, that the king decides the best course of action is to hide her abilities lest the citizens rise up and overthrow another potential evil homicidal ruler with magic powers, something the Duke of Weselton was more than willing to do. When Elsa first shows everyone she has powers on accident, the first reaction of everyone is fear. Why? She has had nothing else to do in her room but read. What better to read than the history of other rulers in the past with powers? So when her powers are discovered and she's immediately labeled a monster, she does the first thing she can think of and runs. She runs so that she doesn't hurt anybody and so that she isn't killed like magical rulers of the past. I think you have to think of... I think this theory makes sense, but only if you believe that all the movies are connected and that the characters in the movies know about each other. I know we see like a Easter egg of Rapunzel and Flynn Rider in Frozen. But we don't know if they know anything about other Disney movies and whatnot. So it's interesting to think about, for sure. But I think the main reason that the king hid Elsa's powers is because he feared them. I mean, look what happened with Anna. She got hit, and, you know, what would happen if Elsa accidentally did that to someone else? Someone not in the family. Someone who, you know, could potentially overthrow. You know, what if during a big event between kingdoms, you know, Elsa got spooked and, you know, hit a prince or a king or a queen or a princess, or, you know, there would be war. So I mean, it's very possible that he hid her a fear of rebellion, of overthrowing them. I don't think he cared more about his title than his daughters. I just think that he was more afraid of what people would do to Elsa than anything else. Don't discredit Anna's magic. It seems funny to me that there have been no speculations about Anna having powers as well as Elsa. There was earlier, but this person obviously hasn't seen them. There is no denying that Anna is a warm summer personality. She's a downright spitfire, and I seem to remember an instance where she threw a flaming pack while traveling relatively fast, avoided hitting Kristoff, and hit her mark as intended. My theory is that Anna is Elsa's polar opposite, or her perfect balance, in the fact that she possesses powers as well. Why don't we see them? Because as a young child, her memory was wiped of all magic, including her own. The trolls were unaware of the specifics of the hereditary family magic. We know this because Elsa was born with hers, and may have unintentionally inhibited the larger part of the growth in young Anna. Given that love seems to be the controlling factor in the controlled expression of the magic, Anna's never resurfaced because she was so full of love for her family, that is, until her family was threatened. A little bit of support? As mentioned before, the abnormal control over what was virtually a fireball, and without getting burned. As a child, she obviously loved the cold because she was developing the power to fight it off, even in huge banks of snow with no coat. As she grew older, she grew to miss her warmth, begrudgingly wishing that Elsa had tropical powers, unaware that they were in fact hers. Then there is the matter of Olaf. He loves warmth in Anna. She is worth melting for because she has the warm hugs that he wants. That makes sense. That makes sense. Maybe she does have, maybe not fire powers specifically, but like warming powers. Huh. I like it. I like it. This is the last Frozen theory. The water spirit killed Elsa's parents. I was just watching clips from Frozen and Moana to sing along with my toddler, and I watched the clip from Do You Want to Build a Snowman? When the boat sunk in the storm in the first movie, the water surrounding the boat, but nowhere else, was glowing a bright blue. One would think that it was lightning from the storm. But in the second movie, we're introduced to the Nox, the water spirit. And when the water spirit is around, the water glows a bright blue. The water spirit protects Ahtohallan. We found out that Elsa and Anna's parents were on their way to Ahtohallan when their boat sank. The water spirit murdered Elsa and Anna's parents in cold blood, and we all thought it was an accident. Oh my god! Yes! That makes so much sense. Maybe the water spirit was just afraid, because they were heading to Ahtohallan, so maybe it was just afraid that they were going to hurt Ahtohallan, or, you know, we all know that humans ruin everything they touch. So if they had found Ahtohallan, you know, they could have brought people back and ultimately put Ahtohallan in danger. Huh. Yeah, makes sense. We're on to Moana now. Her dad, Chief Tui, is a power-mad dictator that will do anything to keep his title. So I've been toying with these thoughts for a while, and whilst I don't have it 100% fully developed, I will get there. Moana's dad wants to remain chief. He always has. When you wayfind, you search for other islands to discover and essentially populate or trade with. But the island of Motunui is all we need. It has resources, enough wood, trees, wildlife, and coconuts to feed their village over for generations to come. Except it doesn't. And Moana's dad is about to starve his people to keep hold of power. The song they all sing together at the start is a village song they sing throughout the day, but there is an ominous line in there. Everyone seems to be singing joyfully, happily, whilst working to sustain themselves. They all say the island of Motunui is all we need. Again, this line is almost shouted gloriously like they all believe it. But right after that line, someone always pretty much whispers, and no one leaves. The way they say it is the opposite to the person singing the previous line. It's hollow and eerie, almost like they've challenged it before and been silenced. He has always told Moana not only her life's duty is to be chief of the village, but also that the village is all the happiness she will ever need. Searching for more of it out there is not only trivial, but dangerous. He has concocted this story about the water being dangerous, with potential monsters out there, a little like the antagonists in the village. So after living on an island, and successfully for a while, Moana's dad is loving the attention. He is chief. His family will carry on his legacy by remaining here and being chiefs. However, his best friend says, "Dude, it's time to wayfind another island. We're thriving in this place and have conquered it." Moana's dad says it isn't time, and this goes back and forth until the friend becomes agitated and maybe suspicious. So he says, "Okay, but just you and I go, as to not put anyone at risk." Now Moana's dad sees his opportunity. His plan is about to come to fruition. Once at sea, her dad attacks his friend and kills him. He then lets his body float to the bottom of the sea. His friend probably tried to defend himself, so when her dad gets back, he says the boat was struck against the rocks, etc., causes all the scratches and scrapes he has, and he concocts his story. His story that points to, we must remain here forever, we are happy, there are dangers and monsters out there, but we can live in paradise forever, and I will remain chief and none of my subjects can leave. Now after he feeds his BS to his people, they believe him of course, as he is their noble chief. But all isn't as seems. After Moana is told the story about her dad and his friend, later that night the villagers gather to discuss the crisis of their dwindling food supply. Moana is obviously like, "I found boats, we can do this, we can go out and find food and restore the heart, which will provide more food." Her dad is infuriated, not because Moana has a different idea to him, not because she is a solution to the food problem, because she is messing with his legacy. This will cause subjects to leave and to find more islands, dwindling the control and power he has over the population. So what's her dad's next move after finding a solution to frickin' starving? Also, what starvation? We're happy here and it's all we need. He burns the boats. Yeah. Yeah, her dad, I never understood. Yeah, no. I get, like, the story was because they tried to go out and his friend died and all of that, but really, like, you see your people are starving, why would you not want to at least risk it? Send somebody out there to figure it all out. Yeah, I think it was more about his legacy than caring about his people. Okay, this is the dark Moana theory, but wait till you hear me tell it. Moana died during the storm. The rest of the movie takes place in the afterlife until Te Fiti grants her life again at the end. The chief's wife is not Moana's mother. The chief was seduced and had Moana with the goddess of the sea, Tangaroa. When the goddess presented the chief with his daughter, she told him the child's fate, which is why he fights so hard to keep her away from the ocean. Knowing the chief was unlikely to willingly offer up his only child, Tangaroga approaches the grandmother, who becomes her prophet and promises to prepare Moana. The woman that presents the dead coconuts to the chief is the deity Tangaroa. She is a spitting image of Moana, and she is showing the chief his island is dying and he has run out of time. He must let Moana go. He still refuses. You'll notice the grandmother's interactions with Moana take a huge shift from teaching of life to, this is what I want when I die. The chief refused to obey Tangaroa, and it cost him his mother. The goddess knew her death was the only thing left that could push Moana to go. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense too. Yeah. We're now moving on to the Raya theories. Unexplored benefits of the Droon. When Raya's dad was turned to stone by the Droon, his leg was badly injured from being shot by an arrow. He couldn't walk or even stand up on his own. At the end of the movie, when he's turned back to human, he seems to be walking fine. This means somehow he was completely healed by this process of being frozen and then unfrozen. This would have incredible implications for the people who live in this world. Seemingly, any injury could be healed this way. They can capture some of the Droon and contain it safely. They can administer it like a medical procedure. There don't appear to be any side effects of being frozen and then unfrozen based on the hundreds of people that went through this in the movie. It would be a medical miracle cure. I agree. I think the Droon is a little bit of a healing, or has a little bit of a healing factor. But I don't know how you would only get a little bit of it. I don't know. We never see Sisu's true power. Not a very big theory or relevant to the plot given. Sisu wouldn't really use her power anyways, but I don't think we ever get to see Sisu's true power in the movie. The dragon gem is born of 5 dragon siblings, infusing it with their magic to save the world from the Droon. When it breaks, it has 5 parts, presumably 1 part containing each of the dragon's powers. Although it doesn't crack cleanly, it just so happens Sisu gets the powers of one of her fallen siblings with each, like each piece contains the entirety of the power of a single dragon. Early on in the movie, Sisu says her power is that she's a good swimmer, and she proves that by swimming the shrimp boat out of Tails Harbor. This is a little weird though, given that all the dragons seem to be water dragons, and swimming seems to be more of strength-based feat than magical. It's great as a throwaway gag, but it just felt really off, especially as we compare it to the other dragons' powers, as Sisu absorbs their pieces of the dragon gem and their magic. Shape-shifting, fog, rain, and glowing. Yeah, okay, again, the powers weren't the point of the movie. The weird thing is, as she obtains each of them, she names which of her 4 siblings her new powers came from, and never names herself. She dies before obtaining the 5th and last piece, the Fang tribe's piece. Given this, It's probably her piece, and had she absorbed it, she would have regained her power. Why she wouldn't say what her power was or make a deal out of losing it, I can't explain. Maybe the dragons didn't lose their powers when they made the orb, just seemed like a big sacrifice for them to do. Again, powers aren't the point of the movie, just something I noticed. Yeah, I don't get why all her siblings had these cool powers and hers was just like, yeah, I can swim really fast. I never got that. Like, why is her power so lame? But she was like the one that they chose to be the last dragon. I don't get it. I agree. I feel like we don't see her true power in the movie. Okay, this is just titled Raya Theory. Just finished watching Raya for the 5th time with my daughter, and it dawned on me why Sisu was left as the last dragon. If her brother and sister dragons didn't choose to leave Sisu behind, there wouldn't be any water for humans to survive, just going on what happened after she was killed and all the water drying up. Now that makes sense because she was the water dragon. If she had died, the water would have been gone. Huh. Okay, and this is the last theory that we're going to talk about. Raya and the Last Dragon is connected to Mulan. I have a theory on how Raya and the Last Dragon is connected to Mulan. My points: 1. All the dragons got turned into stone in the prologue of Raya and the Last Dragon. They all knew each other and had interacted with each other, which is proof on when Sisu awakens from her slumber and asks about another dragon. 2. The movie's location is Kumandra, a fictional location which is based in Southeast Asia, which comprises of Thailand, the Philippines, Cambodia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Malaysia, Laos, etc. Thailand is a neighboring mainland region of China where Mulan is based. Also, Mulan's village is based in the middle of China in Xiangyang. Sorry, I probably botched that. Mushu and the Great Stone Dragon are turned into stone and are dragons. Mushu has to try and wake the Great Stone Dragon up to assist Mulan on her journey. When trying to awaken him, Mushu gives him nicknames and plays around with him. 4. Dragons have a whole heap of powers that they have, and Mushu's was the power to awaken spirits. The Great Stone Dragon must have had stone powers. Yeah. I mean, I think if you really think about it, you can connect every single Disney movie. I mean, if you really think about it hard enough. So, yeah, that makes sense. And it makes sense that they're both from the same, like, region of the world, and they both have to do with dragons and turning to stone. Makes sense. So, what are your guys' thoughts on these theories? Let's talk about it in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.